let me ask you a question. If a corporation's making a product for you to buy, which is what they're doing, and you raise their taxes, what happens to the price of that product? I'm super confused though. So you want to get rid of the tariff because it's adding on cost to the consumer, but you want to raise corporate taxes, which is adding cost to the consumer.
Well,
brilliant plan. The reason that republicanism is much better and the reason that the average person probably shouldn't vote at all is exactly this reason, because once they realize they can raid the treasury as a monolith, which now they know how to do by voting in politicians who will raid the treasury in order to give them entitlements, democracy's fucked. The second that happens, it's fucked. Just don't let them vote. That's what you do. You just stop letting stupid fucking people vote.
I do agree we need like some sort of
18-year-olds
competence.
shouldn't be voting.
I don't think they should be voting either. I think there needs to be a competency test.
And you know who else they see there? They're not just seeing like a base Chad right-wingers. They're seeing Hassan Piker. They're seeing Destiny. They're seeing all these left-wing scumbags who are pushing their left-wing message. And guess what? That poisonous message, that's worked. It's worked well.
Yeah.
And you act like this dialectic just doesn't exist because you wish it didn't.
No,
but it does.
All right, so I've got something absolutely wild for you guys today. We're about to watch Andrew Wilson completely dismantle this leftist girl who thinks she's got all the answers to America's problems. And here's what's so hilarious about this. She starts off talking about corporate tax loopholes, and within like 5 minutes, Andrew has her literally arguing that we should raise prices on consumer goods and get rid of Social Security for people who've been paying into it their entire lives. Like, the mental gymnastics are insane. But here's the thing. This isn't just some random debate fail. This is literally how every single leftist operates when you actually press them on their economic fantasy plans. They just keep digging deeper until they're arguing against their own points. Watch how fast this falls apart. Let's get into it.
Illegal immigrants
What are the majority of our issues?
I would say our tax structure and our $39 trillion in debt.
Yeah, so let's talk about our tax structure. You want us to pay 90% like Sanders?
No, I think that's ridiculous.
Okay, how much?
I say literally just start with getting rid of the loopholes for the, I think it's more the corporations. I think wealthy people who, like doctors and stuff, they're paying pretty high taxes. If you look at the corporate tax rate says it's at 21%, but it's actually with all the reductions and kickbacks and stuff, averaged at 11%. But if you look at the rich, and it goes from poorest corporations.
Okay. So you want to raise taxes on corporations?
Get rid of the loopholes first off.
That would raise their taxes, right?
Yeah, I think that would make a big difference.
That would raise their taxes,
Yes.
right? Okay. Let me ask you a question. If a corporation's making a product for you to buy, which is what they're doing, and you raise their taxes, what happens to the price of that product?
It could go up.
Oh, it could? Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't aware. Do corporations pass on the cost of a product to the consumer?
Yeah.
Oh, you
so
got
do
it.
tariffs.
Wait a second. Hang on.
The tariffs are adding cost to the consumer as well.
Wait, I'm super confused though. So you want to get rid of the tariff because it's adding on cost to the consumer, but you want to raise corporate taxes, which is adding cost to the consumer.
Well,
brilliant plan.
My plan's bigger in the future. Since AI is taking over and we're all basically going to be jobless. Yeah, I think the corporations, there needs to be an excessive wealth tax. What's crazy, if 10% of the S&P 500 pays zero corporate taxes, and a lot of them are getting money back from the government, and I think that's crazy. In your brilliant time of the 1950s, yeah, we didn't have this tax structure.
When have I ever advocated to go back to the 1950s ever?
I mean, you've talked about it a lot on this podcast.
Never happened once.
I mean, if you look at from the 1970s and above, the wealth distribution has gone from the middle class to the rich, and it's still increasing, and you can see what happened. And it didn't start with Reagan, but yeah, he did a good job getting.
So your plan is raising the prices of consumer goods. That's your plan.
That's Trump's plan too, right?
No. His plan was to utilize.
My plan
his plan was to utilize tariffs.
My plan is legit. If you look at graphs, we're becoming poorer, and what you would call the Epstein class keeps getting richer, and they're the ones controlling what I also
the average
call a
American
shadow
is
government.
getting richer, not poorer. What are you talking about?
Can you look up a graph
all you gotta do is
showing the
look-
1950s to now about wealth distribution?
Yeah, no. It's not about wealth distribution. Show instead.
That's inflation.
Hang on. Show instead poverty line. The poverty line. How do you agree with me right now that way more people are above the poverty line than they
Do
have
you
been?
know how the poverty line is created?
I do.
It's not realistic in a world with technology and stuff like that. That's an old school way of looking at it. If you look at it with realistic today's standards, the poverty line is much higher than
Yeah,
that.
and how many millionaires do we have right now?
I don't know.
The most
I'm not
in
even
history?
worried about. Yeah, I'm worried about the corporations.
I know you want to raise taxes on corporations, thus raising prices on consumer goods.
Yeah, fine.
Great.
That's probably for the better.
Great.
If it takes our country out.
I can't wait to endorse this plan where I spend more money on things I buy.
You're doing that for tariffs.
No, you're not doing that for tariffs. Tariffs don't work that way. That's not the same thing at all.
My bigger picture is our society is going to collapse if we don't take down the debt. And how are we going to do that? We should make this government smaller, but also we're going to need more tax revenue, which that's where the corporations come in. And then once jobs are eliminated, if we don't have laws put in place, like an extreme wealth tax like they had in the 1950s, then
That nobody paid.
yeah, there was loopholes. Some people did pay it, but
Almost nobody paid it. Just so you know.
did they have the excess wealth?
Well, what they had was they had a marginal tax. So what would happen is if you reach certain threshold, then they would tax X amount of that.
Yeah, I mean,
they'd be
the
like,
average-
okay, now you made $10 million. At $10 million, we get 90% of that 10th million
Yeah,
or whatever.
the average actual corporate
But even
tax
if you
rate
did
was
that
41%.
right, even if you did that right now, it wouldn't put a dent in the debt. Wouldn't
That's
even
why I say
dent
we
it.
also need to make the government smaller. Thomas Massey's plan is to take 6 cents off of every
And
dollar
what does our
funding.
government spend the most money on?
Our debt and
No.
the military,
No.
and then
It spends
Yeah.
the most amount of money on entitlements.
get rid of entitlements.
Okay, so you want to both sides it and get all the people who are collecting Social Security to stop collecting Social Security.
They've paid for it. I think. No, they're
that's
paying
our biggest
I'm not talking about everything, like every single thing. I'm saying reducing food stamps, reducing stuff like that. We're paying for our own retirement.
Sure, let's get
So
rid of
I
it.
would make a law that says people born from this date, there's no longer Social Security. And what I would do is we don't need a post office. That's pretty
So
outdated.
people who've been paying into Social Security, they're now, I don't know.
That's why you
They're now,
start-
hang on, now they're 59 years old. They don't get it. Fuck them.
No, that's why I said we have to make this law in advance to start for people who haven't been born yet or paid for into Social Security.
So we're going to rack up another 60 years of debt?
No. There's other forms to deduct. The post office is completely useless. We need to take money off of everything. Everything's going to suffer a bit, but also, like Doge was supposed to do, we need a better system of people who aren't connected to...
You know what's funny? It's like I agree with you on some of the prescriptions that you have.
Yeah.
Right? For instance, shrinking the size of government in some arenas, I think is a great idea. Probably not the military, definitely entitlements. I think that I think the idea of a massive corporate tax is just going to raise consumer
I
good
don't want
prices.
a massive one.
But hang on. It's just, no matter what you do, it's going to raise consumer prices. So the thing is like, even if I agree to some of these prescriptions, if we're going back to the original point now, we're going to tie it back in. How the fuck are you going to get other people to agree with you on it? How? How are you going to get people to give up their entitlements? They're not going to do it. They're all voting in the interest of their entitlements. All of them. The whole reason democracy doesn't work in the long term, the reason that republicanism is much...
Okay, so let me just hold on. Did you catch what just happened there? Andrew literally just explained to her why democracy fails when people vote themselves entitlements from the treasury. And her response is, people just need to be more educated. Like, dude, you can't educate people out of voting for free shit. That's not how human nature works. That's the entire point he just made. And look, this is the thing about leftists like this girl. They always think the problem is just that people don't understand. Like, if we just explain it better, suddenly everyone's going to vote against their own financial interests out of the goodness of their hearts. It's delusional. It genuinely is just crazy that people believe this. But here's what I want you guys to notice about Andrew's approach here. He's not even trying to convince her. He knows she's lost. What he's doing is exposing the fundamental flaw in her entire worldview for everyone watching. Because once people realize they can vote themselves money from the treasury, and they have realized it, democracy becomes a slow-motion collapse. That's just facts. I don't care what side you're on. That's what happens every single time. And then she says 18-year-olds shouldn't be voting, like she's making some big concession. Okay, great. But then when Andrew suggests competency tests or stakeholder requirements, she immediately starts making excuses. But what about poor people? What about disabled people? Well, congratulations. You just proved his point again. Everyone votes in their own interest. Disabled people vote for disability benefits. Poor people vote for welfare. That's not complicated. Look, I know you guys watching this already understand this. I know that you don't need me to explain that democracy has a built-in self-destruct mechanism. But what's so perfect about this exchange is watching her realize it in real time and then immediately try to backtrack. She literally says, "Of course, I wouldn't vote against cash for my disability if I was getting it." Of course you wouldn't. Nobody would. That's the problem. And here's the bigger picture. This is why the just educate people crowd will always fail. You can't educate someone into voting against free money. You can't educate someone into supporting cuts to their entitlements. It doesn't work. Andrew knows that. She's starting to figure it out. And you can see the exact moment where she realizes her whole plan falls apart. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think there's any way to fix democracy once people figure out they can vote themselves benefits? Because I genuinely don't see it.
The reason that the average person probably shouldn't vote at all is exactly this reason, because once they realize they can raid the treasury as a monolith, which now they know how to do by voting in politicians who will raid the treasury in order to give them entitlements, democracy's fucked. The second that happens, it's fucked.
I think the left really needs to be, and I mean, everyone in general needs to be more educated on.
Oh, more educated.
No, I'm on the financial state of our country, because for so long, both sides have been like, oh, it's whatever, we print money sort of vibes, but no one really understands.
I don't want to educate the stupid. You can't educate them. You just don't let them vote. That's what you do. You just stop letting stupid fucking people vote.
I do agree we need like some sort of
18-year-olds
competence.
shouldn't be voting.
I don't think they should be voting either. I think there needs to be a competency test so you can understand how basic things work.
How about stakeholder? That would be good. Something like that. Some kind of stake in the game.
I don't know about stake, because poor people.
Yeah, those.
I'm disabled. Does that make me unable to vote because if I'm poor?
If you're,
do I not get a stance in that?
It's funny. It's like, so you just made my point for me. If you're disabled, right, and you vote, you're not going to vote against your own disability, are you? You're not going to vote against cash for your own disability.
Well, I don't get any cash for it.
If you did.
Of course I wouldn't.
Of course you wouldn't. You're going to vote in your interest, and that interest is robbing the treasury of other people's money for you. That's the problem with democracy and power blocks, and that's why your plan of both sidesing, all the both sidesers, are retarded. It doesn't work in real time.
I'm not saying complete work for, I mean, vote for who you want to vote for based off of whatever values and what wants is. The only thing I'm asking for people to agree on is to, like, I hate Gavin Newsom and how everyone's calling him the president, because they watch whatever, because he's the loudest, and they're like, oh, Gavin Newsom president. I'm saying, but if you look at his past, he's a corporate like slime ball. I'm just asking people to, before they judge people based off of their party, look at their campaign contributions.
So people are so fucking stupid that they're willing to vote a guy like Gavin Newsom into office. And you think you're going to convince those people to go along with your plans?
Yeah, everybody's kind of waking up to like the whole Israel thing and the deep state and all that.
That's completely that's an X position. Listen.
It's happening all over the place already.
Israel, the support for Israel, I'm just going to be completely blunt with you. A lot of people don't like hearing this, but they know it's true. The position of support for Israel globally is still a very popular position. In fact,
look that up?
It's much, yeah, you can.
You look that up,
you can look it
Andrew?
up. It is still a very popular position to have support of Israel. What you're talking
The
about.
boomers, not young people who are taking over.
Yeah, but young people don't support shit. They hate everything, which is fair. I understand that. I get it.
So I
But
think,
what you're talking about, when you're talking about the global awakening, right?
yeah.
The global awakening to do what? The leftist global awakening is to, well, we're going to soak the millionaires and billionaires, and we're going to raise the corporate taxes, and we're going to stop these people from taking away your birthright by instituting more forms of entitlements and individual rights for abortion, things like this. The right-wing Great Awakening is we're going to stop foreign powers from interfering in our business, focus on families, and remove degeneracy. They're dialectically opposed to each other.
Yeah, not really. I'm
Yeah,
saying
really.
vote for who you want. And the thing is take out the corporate PAC money. It's as simple as that. See how they vote on Israel. Like 83% of people vote towards Israel. Like, vote all those fuckers out. Start with that.
Look, you can get rid of the PACs. This has been looked at
Let's start
many,
with
many
that,
times.
okay?
The problem is that you give media then a massive upper hand.
No one watches. No, you're talking about like boomers. The media, like,
I don't know. Do you think that young people are voting? They don't vote. Who votes? It's the old people who vote.
well, they're about to, not be around that much longer. And what's left now is.
Oh man, I've been
is-
hearing for 20 years the boomers are about to die out.
No, I mean, I hope
They're going to be around for a long time.
I look things at a bigger picture of how things are going to be swaying and how politics is going to look. So what I see is, yeah, the only people like who watch Fox and like mainstream news are mostly some Gen X, but like boomers. Everybody else who are young are coming onto like YouTube and stuff for sources. And if you look at them, everyone who's actually like have.
So this is the part where she completely loses the plot. She's sitting here trying to tell Andrew that everyone's realizing we're not each other's enemies. And there's some big political awakening happening where left and right are going to come together and solve everything. And dude, I don't even know where to start with how delusional that is. Like, she literally just spent the last 10 minutes arguing for raising corporate taxes, cutting entitlements, getting rid of Social Security, and now she's talking about unity? What unity? Unity around what? You think Hassan Piker and his audience are going to agree with cutting welfare programs? You think right-wingers are going to agree with soaking corporations and raising consumer prices? Like, what are you talking about? And here's what's so funny about this. She mentions Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks and acts like him going on Tucker Carlson's show means something. Okay, great. They both agree that PAC money is bad. Cool. You know what they don't agree on? Literally everything else. Foreign policy, immigration, abortion, the size of government, tax policy, Israel, everything that actually matters. But sure, they both think corporate money in politics is bad. So obviously we're all going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya now. This is the thing about these both sides are the same people. They think because they personally can see problems on both sides, everyone else is going to magically do the same thing. But that's not reality. The reality is exactly what Andrew said. The left-wing message is soak the rich, more entitlements, more rights, abortion, degeneracy. The right-wing message is strong borders, strong families, strong nation, less government. Those are dialectically opposed. You can't just wish that away because you want everyone to get along. And then she brings up the whole young people are waking up to Israel and the deep state thing. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. You know what the young left-wing position on Israel is? Free Palestine. Israel is committing genocide, apartheid state, colonialism. You know what the young right-wing position is? Israel is our ally. They have a right to defend themselves. Hamas are terrorists. Those aren't the same. At all. So what awakening is she talking about? The awakening where young leftists hate Israel even more than their parents did? Because that's what's actually happening. Look, I get what she wants to be true. She wants there to be some magical moment where everyone realizes the corporations and the establishment are the real enemy, and we all team up against them. But that's a fantasy. The left and right fundamentally disagree on what the problems are and what the solutions should be. Andrew's right. She's on everyone's evil side because she's trying to both sides everything when there is no both sides position that works. And the kicker? She admits young people don't vote. She literally says it. Well, yeah, old people vote, but young people are about to take over. Okay, when? The boomers have been about to die out for 20 years. Gen X is aging into the boomer role. Millennials are hitting middle age. When exactly is this youth revolution happening? Because right now, the people who actually vote are still watching Fox News and CNN, and they're still voting along party lines. The whole thing is just so typical of this type of thinking. If we just get rid of PACs, if we just educate people, if we just fact-check, everything will work out. No, it won't. Because people don't vote based on facts. They vote based on interest. And those interests are in direct conflict with each other. Let me know what you guys think about this whole awakening idea in the comments. Do you buy it? Or is this just wishful thinking from someone who wants to believe everyone's going to agree with her if she explains it hard enough?
Has influence for young people. They all agree with exactly what I'm saying, and they're telling other people.
They don't.
Yeah,
No,
they do. About
they
the
don't.
PACs.
The problem is, you're right. People do switch over to online now instead of old media. They do. And you know who else they see there? They're not just seeing like a base Chad right-wingers. They're seeing Hassan Piker. They're seeing Destiny. They're seeing all these left-wing scumbags who are pushing their left-wing message. And guess what? That poisonous message, that's worked. It's worked well.
Yeah.
And you act like this dialectic just doesn't exist because you wish it didn't.
No,
But it does.
I literally watch all of them. There's something changing in politics. Like,
What?
everyone's realizing we're not each other's enemies. Like, let's say, I know you're not. I watch both.
It's like the opposite.
It's
like the opposite.
Yeah, because
They're
you're
realizing
in
everyone's your
everyone's
enemy.
evil side. Like Tucker Carlson had the dude on that from the Young Turks with the. There's even a website where you can go sign up.
Sankiger.
Yeah. Just promoting the site to where we can all make a pack to end the pack sort of vibes. And
Yeah,
all
Sankiger has been on the end money and politics train for an awful long time. It's really funny, though, because a lot of that comes from Sankiger focusing on the fact that he was a media talking head who is very important.
People.
And a lot of these guys thought that if you got rid of PAC money, that they would be able to utilize media like they did the original time Donald Trump ran, where they used media to try to demonize him, run the Steele dossier, run conspiracy theories about him. You do give media an upper hand. I agree. I hate the fact that there's PACs in politics. I do. But the fact of the matter is that media is so fucking corrupt, you can't trust them either.
Well, that's why I also advocate for people to fact check, and young people are realizing people
young people are dumber now than they've ever been.
Yes, that's why I would agree that's why I would agree that we should raise the voting age, but
to what?
All right, so let's be real for a second. Andrew Wilson absolutely demolished this girl. Like, it wasn't even close. And the reason it wasn't close is because she walked in with a bunch of feel-good ideas that sound nice on paper, but completely fall apart the second you apply any real-world logic to them. Her entire plan was basically raise corporate taxes, cut entitlements, get rid of PACs, educate voters, and somehow everyone's going to agree and we'll fix the debt. And Andrew just systematically tore apart every single piece of it. You want to raise corporate taxes? Cool, that raises consumer prices. You want to cut entitlements? Great, good luck getting people to vote for that when they're the ones collecting. You want to get rid of PACs? Fine, but then you're just giving even more power to corrupt media outlets. Every single solution she offered created another problem she couldn't answer. And here's the thing that really stood out to me. She kept trying to appeal to this idea that young people are waking up and everyone's realizing we're not enemies and there's going to be some big unity moment. But that's just not real. The left and right are not moving toward each other. If anything, they're moving further apart. The left is getting more radical on social issues, immigration, foreign policy. The right is getting more hardline on borders, national sovereignty, traditional values. Those aren't converging, they're diverging. And Andrew nailed it when he said she's on everyone's evil side. Because that's exactly what happens when you try to both sides everything. You end up with a position that nobody actually supports. The left isn't going to agree to cut welfare. The right isn't going to agree to massive corporate tax hikes. So who's voting for her plan? Nobody. It's a fantasy. But what I really want you guys to take away from this is the lesson Andrew was teaching throughout the whole thing. Democracy has a fatal flaw. Once people figure out they can vote themselves benefits from the treasury, it's over. That's not a bug, that's a feature. And every attempt to educate people or raise awareness or fact check isn't going to change that fundamental reality. People vote in their interest, period. Now look, I'm not saying democracy is completely unsalvageable, but if you're going to fix it, you can't pretend the problem doesn't exist. You can't just say, well, if people were smarter, or if young people voted more, or if we got rid of PACs. You have to actually deal with the incentive structure. And nobody on the left wants to do that, because dealing with it means restricting who gets to vote, which they'll never agree to because they know their coalition depends on uninformed voters voting for free stuff. Andrew saw through all of it. He called it out, and she had no answer. That's why he won. That's why he wins these debates every single time. Because he's willing to say what everyone's thinking but nobody wants to admit. Most people probably shouldn't vote, and the ones who do should have some skin in the game. That's not radical. That's common sense. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like this video, share it, drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think about this whole democracy problem, and whether you think there's a way to fix it, or if we're just riding this thing into the ground. Welcome to MB. That's what we do here. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.